Greetings, all you mages out there. I'm Duuz-Diz-Din, back again with another fairy tale, the 100 Years Quest chapter review. This time it's chapter 24, titled All's Well That Ends Well. And I have to wonder how true that title ultimately will be, as this is more of a bridging chapter into the next showdown with the next Holy Pentadrake. So we see Mercuphobia talking with the gang about Ignia, as he was actually surprised to have heard that Ignia had actually come into the picture to more or less help them take him down, with him having noticed that several of the buildings in town were burnt to a certain degree. And ultimately Mercuphobia is the one who ends up telling everyone, as Natsu didn't, I guess, not really feeling fit to actually be the one to explain his relationship with Ignia. Explains that Ignia is the true son of the Fire Dragon King Ignia, and the same blood runs through their veins. Naturally, everyone is shocked to a certain degree, but Lucy realizes that's why he knew Natsu. This leads to the revelation to Mercuphobia that Natsu is the one who Ignia raised for the 100 or so years or whatever. And he explains that ultimately Ignia had come to size up the competition for the true son of the Fire Dragon King. Natsu is naturally ready to throw down with Ignia, because it's just like, this guy has been on this continent causing trouble. He seems to be a bad seed altogether. I'm going to kick his ass. So ultimately that's what Natsu's intentions are. But Mercuphobia lays it right out on the table, saying that, look, he's not someone you could possibly truly hope to take down. He's a bit out of your weight class, dude. You know, and not to mention, in terms of the other Holy Pentadrakes, honestly, you probably don't really stand a chance, because ultimately Natsu had to get assistance in order to take down Mercuphobia. Without Ignia's intervention, they'd be dust. Well, waterlogged, I guess. But, you know, Natsu is on that hero shit. He's just like, we'll take him down no matter what we have to do. And it's just like, you'll die. That's what you'll do. But, whatever. Gray asks for any kind of information as to the location or what the other Holy Pentadrakes are about, and Mercuphobia, being indebted to them to a certain degree, gives them as much as he actually has. You know, he lays it out that, you know, Ignia, God Dragon of Flame, very aggressive and warlike, destroyed several nations and countries, which is just like, yeah, friggin' dragon roaming the world, that probably would happen. Honestly, it's just weird that in Ishgard or whatever, the fact that so many people didn't believe in dragons, I'm just like, yo, if there were any kind of dragons roaming the world for any amount of time, you think more people would have heard of dragons. It's just weird that there was such a statement as to the fact that so many people didn't believe Natsu when he was just like, I was raised by a dragon. It's just like, dragon? Oh, they don't exist. I would have expected more of, yeah, right, raised by a dragon. Dragons don't raise people, they eat people. And that's if you're lucky. But then we hear about the next dragon that they'll probably be going to, because he's the closest, the wood god dragon, Alderon. And that actually sounds pretty interesting. A wood dragon? What? A wood dragon? What's his powers? Does he shoot leaves at you? Although that one, whatchamacallit, 10 Wizard Saint, Woodrow, he had some pretty cool powers and the like. Not to mention, Deroy, he had plant-based powers, so maybe an upgraded version of that we might end up seeing. So apparently his species is the largest in the entirety of the world, so big hulking thing, maybe kind of like Venusaur or Ivysaur? Ivysaur, something like that, or maybe even Torterra, I'm thinking in Pokemon terms, but honestly, when else do you actually see plant-based creatures of massive size? So he uses the power of nature to actually read people's minds, so in a very attuned with wildlife, plant life, and the such. And since ultimately humans are a form of wildlife, you're still a living creature, he's able to commune and mentally read you to a certain degree. So that should be an interesting showdown, if nothing else. And then the moon god dragon Selene, so it's just like Lunala, by the power of the moon, I will burn you to cinders. A giant dragon that uses the power of the stars. So I expect to see powerful abilities, the likes of which Jalal would send out, like celestial magic. Wouldn't it be some shit if Ultramaria, that one attack that Lucy uses, that one hit KO kind of attack, what if Selene is the one who developed that ability? That would be some shit. Or, have some kind of showdown with the Celestial King. That's some good stuff. That's the one thing that always gets me about Fairy Tail. Sometimes I'll leave disappointed, but then the hype just brings me back in for the next showdown. Then the gold god dragon Virnus, which is stated to be, just this mysterious dragon. They know nothing about it, just this golden god dragon. So, very much up in the air what this could be. It'd be interesting if it was Super Shenron, just massive, universes wide, glowing, a brilliant gleam, and you get one wish after you defeat him or some crap. It's just nice to speculate ultimately. And, Wendy's kind of questioning this. It's just like, well, that's weird that you don't know much about your other fellow holy pentadrakes. But Mercuphobia's just like, well, we didn't even actually call ourselves that. Humans called us. After all of our evil deeds and stuff along those lines, we actually started to become worshipped. And, even, what's her name? Khalil? The little girl that was raised by Mercuphobia ultimately says that, that's kind of the nature of people to a certain degree. Over time, they start to see all these calamities, such as beasts, monsters, volcanoes, and that's true in the real world. You see all these major things go down, and you start to kind of consider them religious things. You start to kind of see them as things that were always fated to happen, the will of the gods for the most part. And it's just kind of interesting to see how that would, translate over to a fairy tale world, and where people would actually worship these creatures that would sooner destroy them as nothing else. A very interesting point of view. And, ultimately, Ezra thanks him for the information. Yeah, he says that Mercuphobia says he doesn't know where the other, holy pentadrakes are, but he has a reasonable idea of the whereabouts of the wood god dragon. And he's just like, look, this is not someone you can actually go toe-to-toe with. You're not gonna be able to do this. I just want you to understand, you fucked. You straight up fucked. Do you still want to do this? And Natsu gives that protagonist bravado smile. Honestly, he's got nothing to worry about. Up until this point, he's managed to get through everything without suffering too much. So it's just like, he'll be fine. And so as the group leaves, Mercuphobia and Caramel, I had to look that shit up. see them off, and she apologizes for inviting in Toka the White Witch to kind of, try to take away his power so it wouldn't rage out of control, only for it to create an even more dire situation. Also worth noting, that shot of Caramel's ass, just right there. Like any other angle you could have done, and you just chose that one. You're weird. It's just like that one shot in Justice League of Wonder Woman's ass. It's just like, no, that's just gratuitous. It's a nice ass, but still. But ultimately Mercuphobia is kind of fine with the way his life is gonna go out. The Water God Dragon is dead, basically. Calamity will no longer haunt the city, we'll rebuild the town, people can call it home, and I'll spend the rest of my life as a human for the most part. Although, I wonder if he still has magical abilities to at least a certain degree. But he seems like he'll be content either way, and he's just glad that things worked out that way. And he wishes to no longer be called the Water God Dragon, and simply be called Mercuphobia. Although, Caramel says it's just like, yeah, that's a little too long to actually just say every time. So it's shortened to just Lord Mayor, as I guess they'll still continue to see him as the leader of their community, if nothing else. So a nice little moment between them, and all's well that ends well. Ain't that the truth? And so everyone continues to set out, looking for a way to get there faster, since apparently there's no trains in this on this continent. However, it's Gray kind of knows. It's like, no, there were train tracks on the map, if I recall. And we come to find out not to erase the lines for the train because he doesn't really want to ride on them. So, Ezra gives him the business, and Wendy as well, because she gets accused because she's also, motion sick when she rides on certain things. So it's then explained that they'll be heading to a nearby city of Tekka, and they will end up taking the train to the center of the continent, Drasil, not a battery, Drasil. And so Lucy hopes that it'll be a kind of bustling cityscape, much like Crocus, in Ishgar. And so they end up camping. Naturally, Lucy, forever being the narrator, is, writing down in her journal about seeing the Wood God Dragon Alderaan and, what might happen there. But she still kind of has some conflicting emotions over that scene she saw with Natsu when he was consumed with the flames of Ignia. Those flames that could burn all the world to ash. And she kind of has a moment of lamentation and calls out Natsu's name, and naturally he just pops in the tent for whatever reason. I don't know why he was just nearby enough to just hear her, but Lucy tries to shoo him away. Urza is sleeping right next to Lucy in their tent, and so Natsu uses this opportunity to not only draw on Urza's face, but Lucy and Wendy as well, because Lucy fell asleep halfway in between whatever Natsu was doing in their tent, and naturally Urza beats the shit out of Natsu. So it's kind of like a kind of ending. It's just like, yeah, it's just on to the next adventure. Isn't it happy? Isn't it fun? Isn't it fantastic? Isn't it... I don't know. Just whatever. Well, it'll just be interesting to see more dragons and what they can do in the end. Not to mention you have the Diablo skill just running around there causing havoc, trying to eat these people, which also makes me wonder if Mercuphobia will actually, if they'll still try to eat Mercuphobia at some point. That's a question I have for the most part. But we'll just have to see later down the line what actually ends up happening. So, hey, tell me your thoughts on this chapter in the comment section below. Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Do you feel that it's a little too, hey, we made it out okay, and nothing of real consequence happened? Although they're still trying to kind of allude to it with the whole thing that, the beast mode that Natsu ended up going into, and I'm still like, man, wouldn't it have been wicked if his hands were still kind of singed or burnt or injured from that whole showdown? Wouldn't that have been at least something? But oh well, we'll see. We'll see what happens towards the end of all of this. What ultimately taking down all of these holy pentadrakes will gain them in the end. But again, tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. If you liked this video, feel free to leave me a like. If you didn't, feel free to leave me a dislike and tell me what I did wrong in the comment section below so I might better myself for future videos. And hey, how about subscribing and hitting the bell icon so you never miss another Fairy Tail 100 Years Quest review. And if you want to find me on social media, feel free to Google Duuz-Diz-Din. I am everywhere, for better or for worse. And until the next video, just remember that things will always turn out well. All's well that ends well. Bye-bye.